Does anyone else have those episodes that you find really flawed, but they have so much cool stuff in it you end up loving it anyway? Boyz in the Highlands is one of those for me. I'm about to nitpick this thing to death, but damn is it a breath of fresh air. One of the coolest things about this one is its limited cast. This is not technically a bottle episode because the setting is too open world to fall under that strict definition, but from a casting perspective, it may as well be. We're really only seeing Bart, Nelson, Dolph, Martin, and Willie in the main storyline, and then are trapped in the house with Homer, Marge, and Lisa for the B-plot. Sure, we get small appearances of a couple other folks, and we have this trio of one-offs, but of our main Simpsons cast, that's all we get. It's an episode with basically 8 regulars in it. If it weren't for a certain other Season 33 entry, this might hold the record for the fewest people ever in a Simpsons episode. As a result, Boyz in the Highlands has an incredibly laser-focused main storyline. We are going to hang out with the characters and discuss their relationships. We are not going to cut away, we are not going to do opening set pieces or third act swerves. They are going on a journey and they're going to learn about themselves, gosh darn it. And by the characters, I mean mostly Bart and Martin. It doesn't present an especially unique relationship premise, as we've seen Martin bullied consistently over the past 30 years. The moment he arrives, you know exactly where the story is going. We can smell a social ostracization plot from a mile away. But for what it's worth, the character themes are set up well. How the bullies pick on Bart, and then Bart picks on Martin with those same insults. Then having these walk and talks as the boys hike through the wilderness. I really dig the sense of adventure throughout, this loose open world vibe so unlike other Simpsons affairs. How they completely skip any sort of preamble. The episode starts, Willie dumps them in the wilderness and says, "Hey, go find this rock. Maybe you kids will discover the greatest of all treasures." Later, they do explain how they all got stuck here in these amazingly quick and stylish flashbacks. It's one of those "so how did we get here" setups that The Simpsons very rarely employs. They can focus more on the premise without spending precious time justifying why they're there. Spoiler warning, we will need these time savings. Then they introduce these 3 menacing Satanists, and the story takes a huge swerve. One moment we're hiking, next moment we're finding a goat, the next moment, holy god, we're being chased by Satanists. It's the biggest WTF moment of Season 33. But I think it's a super compelling inciting incident for our main crew, adding a sense of intrigue and danger to what is a fairly simplistic character piece. In addition, dragging this goat around creates a major wedge issue for our protagonists. I suppose it's not the most elegant plot device ever. I like Nelson's initial observation about it being some kind of the greatest of all treasures wordplay. But it becomes a rather arbitrary wedge for the boys when Nelson literally flip-flops back and forth whether they should keep bringing it along. Now he hates the thing, I guess. Bart's bond with the goat is not especially earned. It's just like one moment of Bart saying, "Hey, this goat is cool." And now suddenly he's siding with Martin to split off from Nelson and Dolph. Maybe adding a scene of Bart and the goat hanging out would improve this. I seem to always have this complaint about Bart and animals. Maybe I should just accept this kid has a huge soft spot for him. Honestly, I don't think this is an episode that people should be watching for a tight, well-explained plot. It's one of those where a bunch of stuff just kinda happens. Like, take Nelson and Dolph's side quest. They find this Airbnb and are like, "Hey, we hit the jackpot. Time to relax and enjoy ourselves." Then the Satanists just happen to find them, threaten them, and lock them in a basement. Are the Satanists renting this place? Did they track them down? Then later, Bart and Martin almost immediately stumble upon them when they're in danger. Boy, these Highlands aren't as big as they look. The pacing is definitely all over the place, alternating between these slower conversations with these fast-paced moments of peril. A chase scene followed by regular hiking again. And then they have to fit an entire B-plot back at the house. We have to put all that intrigue and peril on pause as we bum around with only child Lisa. I feel really mixed about the presence of Lisa's B-plot here. On the plus side, there are plenty of entertaining moments throughout it. The A-plot is fairly dry in the humor department. It's so character and action driven. But back at the house, Lisa gets to run amok as an only child. We get board game jokes, pie chart jokes, fancy hat jokes. Gotta say, Homer's really rocking that thing. I especially love Lisa insisting that they call her Jules, which she thinks is a name an only child would have. Homer whispering to Marge, "I'm afraid of Jules." I don't know if people who love Lisa or hate Lisa would be into this B-plot more, because she gets really annoying. I find myself getting tired of her quickly. But you know, that's clearly the point of the B-plot. She's being an overstimulated 8-year-old, this is exactly how they can act. Seeing Lisa vomit out a bunch of ice cream is super gross, but it's an oddly refreshing take on her character. Give Lisa everything she wants, and watch her go supernova. I gotta say though, as a middle child, I don't really get her hyper-obsessiveness. Usually when my sisters were away, I was like, neat, now I don't have to share the TV. So yeah, the B-plot is fine. It's fairly amusing, it fits thematically, and they transition back and forth between the two stories well. But there's a part of me that wonders what this episode would be like with just the Bart storyline. Like, really go for it, give us something truly unique. Focus the entire story on the kids wandering the Highlands. I realize that Homer, Marge, and Lisa wouldn't be in the episode, but you can integrate them in fantasies or dream sequences. I think the B-plot ultimately hurts the A-plot, that we end up getting the diet version full of shortcuts and cheats. On the other hand, maybe the problem isn't that the B-plot exists, maybe there's a way to streamline the Satanist stuff where it dovetails more efficiently into the relationship drama. They just end up juggling way too much, when at its heart, the real draw of the episode is the Bart and Martin dynamic. That's what truly makes it special, in my opinion. Anyway, after they break away from Nelson and Dolph, we get this scene of Bart increasingly annoyed by his dorky companion's ramblings. He blows up on him and bluntly declares that just because they both like the goat doesn't mean he likes him. Then they share an awkward campfire where Martin returns the favor, giving Bart one of his biggest verbal beatdowns in series history. God, this scene is so good. I can't believe this diatribe came from Martin, of all people. Martin touches on something about Bart's character that the show typically ignores. We think of Bart as America's bad boy, who does whatever he wants, but from Martin's point of view, Bart is the ultimate follower, this coward who desperately latches on to whatever everyone else is doing. If everyone's bullying Martin, he does that. When he needs Martin's help, he'll play nice with them. The episode gives plenty of examples of this dynamic in action, which is important in the context of this standalone narrative, but I think the context of 30 years of this toxic relationship does make the rant all the more compelling. This has been happening to Martin for a long time. I like this modernization of Martin's issues, that overachieving nerds can have more problems than not fitting in with others. That this is a kid that his parents pump full of drugs to help him focus and to sleep, and then force him into all these extracurriculars. Obviously, the obsessive parent archetype has always been a thing. This is not a totally novel concept. There's definitely a streak of The Breakfast Club in this episode. But as schools become increasingly competitive today, more and more kids are being thrown into the grinder like Martin. Lisa gets all the stories about being ignored and not given resources. Martin gets the story about his parents micromanaging his whole life. It's no wonder he finally cracked. You really gotta hand it to Gray Delisle, Martin's new voice actor, who provides a phenomenal performance. It's actually kinda weird to listen to, just because Martin isn't played for drama that often. Oh my gosh, the comic relief character is going ham right now. Wasn't expecting that. The character acting and animation is top-notch as well. Martin is such a dramatic dude by nature. He does lend himself to these big flourishes of emotion. Honestly, the character acting in the whole episode is absolutely stunning. So many of these walk and talk sequences are so dependent on character acting, getting the gist of what everyone is thinking at all times. At some points, it almost feels like everyone is overacting. There is so much expressiveness here. I ended up pulling so many screen caps for this review, just because there was so much visual goodness to take in. Unfortunately, as great as the Martin scene is, the final payoff just isn't up to snuff. We get some decent material when Martin abandons Bart, forcing him to come back around and appreciate him. This orange poop plot device is set up well, with the cheesy snacks earlier. But much like Bart's relationship with the goat, the character shift happens too fast. Bart worries Martin is dead, he's actually not dead, Bart is relieved and feels bad, oh look, the bullies are about to be sliced to pieces. They even do a self-aware joke where it's clear that Bart and Martin haven't learned anything, so eager to impress Nelson and Dolph by saving them. It's a funny joke, just at the expense of the episode's themes. Now it's gonna sound like I'm being hyperbolic right now, but this rescue sequence is one of the weirdest concepts I have ever seen The Simpsons do. It is so ridiculously bizarre, I can't tell if it is genius or the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So it turns out the Satanists are film students making a movie, and that's why they were gonna slaughter the goat. Okay, kind of a letdown, but I get it. But then the blade gets off his track and really is going to kill Nelson and Dolph. Martin observes the blade's patterns sync up exactly with the song Blue Danube and effortlessly dances Bart around the swinging blades while they untie the ropes. I just don't know what's happening anymore. Why Blue Danube? Why dancing? Like, it's a very funny visual, but I laugh more in a what the hell way than anything else. Then the boys appreciate Martin and they find Ankle Rock, yada yada yada. I do like how angry Dolph is at Willie saying their journey was actually the greatest of all treasures. That's garbage. Nature is garbage. The actual character journey isn't the most subtle thing in the world. Martin's overdramatic style lends itself to him vomiting out the emotional payoff at his parents. Yeah, chasing subtlety with Martin is going to be a tall order. Ultimately, Boyz in the Highlands doesn't quite live up to its potential. I think if they reworked the climax with these so-called Satanists, they could have tested the boys' relationships and character development in a more meaningful way. As is, it kinda fizzles out. Reminds me of This Little Wiggy in this regard. Despite those issues, I love how much it tries something different. Takes a surface-level character like Martin and finally figures out what makes him tick. Give this comic relief nerd some actual depth. Heck, even just getting Dolph away from Jimbo and Kearney is a pretty neat decision. He's like the ignored middle child of the Springfield bullies. This is the kind of episode that shows there are still new corners of Springfield to explore, new challenges to throw at them. It's season 33, that's the feeling we should be chasing. Sure, they didn't hit a home run with this one, but I'm excited to see where they go next. I'd call that a success.